Let's dive into the physiology of erection, also known as penile erection. So, erection is a neurovascular event involving coordinated interaction between the nervous system, blood vessels, and smooth muscles of the penis. It occurs mainly in the corporal cavernosa. So, this is the corporal cavernosa, and this is where erection mainly takes place. So first is neural control. Parasympathetic nerve cause erection, and that's the main point. Origin is from S2 to S4, that's via the pelvic splanchnic nerves. The neurotransmitter responsible is nitric oxide. This is the main pathway for erection. So let's move to sympathetic. Sympathetic nervous system causes detumescence, that's shoot. Origin is from T11 to L2. Causes are vasoconstriction, smooth muscle contraction, and loss of erection. So next is somatic nerves. The pudendal nerve, which is from S2 to S4, controls sensation, rhythmic contractions during ejaculation. So sexual sensation during intercourse is due to the presence of the pudendal nerve. So let's move to vascular mechanism. The first step is sexual stimulation. This triggers parasympathetic activation, and parasympathetic activation will now cause release of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide will now cause smooth muscle relaxation. Nitric oxide activates guanylate cyclase, which will increase cyclic GMP, that's guanosine monophosphate. Cyclic guanosine monophosphate increase would cause smooth muscle relaxation. Next is arterial dilation. Increased blood flow through deep arteries of the penis will now cause expansion of corporal cavernosa and subsequently a rigid penis, which is called erection. So next is venous occlusion, which is the key step. Here there is expansion of erectile tissue which compresses venous outflow. This traps blood inside the penis, and this is called the veno-occlusive mechanism. So next is the role of erectile tissue, which is the corporal cavernosa. It is the main rigidity structure. It fills with blood, and this results to hard erection. The corpus spongiosum is the one that surrounds the urethra, and it remains less rigid to allow ejaculation. It is less rigid in order not to compress the urethra in it so as for ejaculation to occur. So let's move to the molecular mechanism. So nitric oxide released from nerve endings and endothelial cells activates guanylate cyclase, which will result in to increase in cyclic guanosine monophosphate, and this leads to smooth muscle relaxation. So there is detumescence, which is loss of erection. This occurs when sympathetic stimulation increases guanosine monophosphate, that's cGMP, is broken down by phosphodiesterase type 5, that's PDE5. So in a nutshell, cyclic guanosine monophosphate is broken down by PDE5, and this results into smooth muscle contraction, venous drainage is restored, and the penis becomes flaccid. So when venous drainage is restored, blood that entered the penis through the arteries is now drained back by the veins, and then the penis becomes flaccid. So what is the role of PDE5? That's phosphodiesterase type 5. This is the enzyme that breaks down cGMP. It causes termination of erection. This is why PDE5 inhibitors such as sildenafil enhances erection. So sildenafil is just a drug prescribed by doctors to people who have erectile dysfunction so as to inhibit PDE5 for the individual to maintain an erection for a longer period. In summary, sexual stimulation will result into parasympathetic activation. This parasympathetic activation will cause nitric oxide release. Nitric oxide release would increase cyclic guanosine monophosphate, which would cause smooth muscle relaxation. Smooth muscle relaxation will result into arterial inflow of blood into the corporal cavernosa. This would cause venous outflow to be blocked, and this will result into an erection. So the key exam points to take home is that the parasympathetic nerves cause erection, the sympathetic nerves cause detumescence, which is loss of erection, nitric oxide and cyclic guanosine monophosphate pathway is central for erection, and then venous occlusion maintains the rigidity of the penis. So whenever you think of physiology of erection, you should think of PSV erection. Parasympathetic nerves are the main point here that causes erection. The smooth muscle relaxation is what follows. Then venous occlusion is what traps the blood to maintain the erection. Then erection is maintained by the blood trapping by venous occlusion. Thanks for listening. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos.